welcome back to File New. My name's Ryan Selvey, and this is File New, your best source of creator news, designer news, art news. We've got you covered with everything up to date and everything that's happening in the creator world. It's constantly changing. There's constantly updates, and we're here to help you stay up to date. If you're watching this live on YouTube or Behance, hello, great to have you here. I will say that this is also hopefully very useful to you, even if you're watching it after the fact and you are watching it as a re-record. We've had a big show of all very cool Premiere updates today. I will be touching on them as we start off the show, but this show is also time to look at other news things, other like font of the week, and we put all of these links in both the description under the raindrop, and then we also have them kind of included in chat as you go along. So you can check out this week's episodes links and previous episodes links if you go to the raindrop logo or the raindrop link that's in the description. But if you have any questions as I'm going through it and you want to figure it out, let me know. But without further ado, let's hop into our first segment, which is just the news. So first and foremost, you shouldn't be surprised if you've watched literally anything else today on Adobe Live, but Adobe has introduced major new updates in Premiere Pro, After Effects Beta, and Frame.io ahead of the Sundance Film Festival. Is anyone in the chat going to Sundance? Are they keeping their eye on any shows, movies coming out? Are there people who are creators that are looking at it? Let me know. Would love to hear. I'm jealous of you. I always thought it would be really cool to go to a film festival. I've been to really tiny ones, but never anything big. Hello to Clever, Jana, and Opiano over on YouTube. Good to have you guys here. And, of course, welcome to Franco, Robert, Ryan, Oliver, you name it, over on Behance. Thank you to Wade for being our moderator. Now, you might be asking what I'm most excited about with these new major updates. I have the full blog linked to the update in the raindrop, as we mentioned, which you can always just get to by going here and going to episode 75. You can see that there's a really cool update to search, which I think is one of the biggest and most impactful things that AI has recently kind of revolutionized, which is the idea of being able to sort and look through footage or files or photos or anything, you name it, with a better understanding of what you're actually looking at. You know, in previous years, you had this situation where you would have a video and the entire time it would be of a kitty cat, but you knew at some point in all of the footage that you took from the day, there was one point where there was a lab, a golden lab that you wanted to find, and you have it in your footage, but you're just not sure where it is. This is new in Premiere media intelligence analysis that will look through your footage, and it will allow you to search and find that dog in a sea full of kitty cats. Which, yes, that's not how they describe it on the way that they're doing it. But I will say it is a fantastic feature that I'm seeing in a bunch of new programs. If you are on the latest operating system for your iPhone, it is something that you can also notice is in the Photos app of your iPhone. And so this is something that only naturally makes sense for Premiere to have, and it's going to help your editing. It's going to help your media management, even if you're really bad at, labeling your files and keep things up. Oliver saying, can it find a needle in a haystack? You know what? Probably could. I mean, as long as you have a macro lens and you can see the needle in the footage. But this is really big. This is exciting. It's one of those things that it's like on the back end. So it's not necessarily like gonna add crazy motion graphics to your edits or anything, but it is going to revolutionize your workflow, and it's going to revolutionize how you relate to footage. Maybe you'll find things in your footage that you didn't realize you had. This happened when we were watching the CA in LA. Courtney and Ashley earlier on today of Adobe, they were actually demoing the product, and they were looking through footage that they had on a trip that they had done, and Courtney at one point goes, oh, I totally forgot that we even had that. So hopefully this helps you. I would love to hear how it impacts you guys. Right now it's only in beta, so it's not in the full release yet, but you can access the beta if you go ahead to your Creative Cloud and you're able to go to the beta tab and you can download the updated Premiere. But that's not the only thing. There's also some accessibility updates when it comes to captions and translations in Premiere Pro. It says on the blog, I'm going to read directly here. It says, since we launched our popular text-based editing workflow, we've had fantastic feature requests like bulk removal of pauses and filler word detection. Now that we've added those, we're working on the next most popular request, caption translation. Captions have become increasingly critical for accessibility and engagement on social media. Now you can more easily expand your global audience with fast, accurate translations in 17 languages. Plus, you can have multiple caption tracks visible at the same time to display various languages or even assist you through editing in a different language. This is something that I think will only help the accessibility of your work. It will help expand your reach. I think especially in today's social media boundaries constantly kind of being moved around, people downloading different apps, there is this need for wanting to create content that can be digested by people who don't necessarily speak your language. I personally follow like 1 or 2 accounts where all of the audio is actually in Spanish, but they take the time to put English subtitles on it, and so then I can still watch it, and it actually really works out and feels natural, because most of the time when I'm on my phone, I don't have the audio on. It's normally turned all the way down, and so I'm reading the captions anyway. So when there's something that's popping up and it has English subtitles, as long as I can read the subtitles, I'm happy with. Doesn't matter if it doesn't match their lips or not. So this is cool that it all happens within the program, and you can hopefully make your videos more accessible to a whole nother demographic that you didn't realize you had, where people would love to see your videos but maybe don't speak the same language. You guys know that I do a lot of motion graphics. I love After Effects. After Effects is pretty system heavy, though. I know that a lot of people say that sometimes After Effects makes their computer sound like it's going to take off. And as GPUs get faster, as Apple starts to introduce different M chips, I think they're getting up to like M5 almost now. I think they only have M4s out, but it's expected for them to come out with M5s either this year or next year. The computer's getting stronger, but at the same exact time, our resolutions are getting bigger, our bit rates are getting bigger. Everything is getting bigger because we can send a lot more information over the internet, over messaging, put it on these giant hard drives or cloud saves that are going around. So even though our computers are getting stronger, everything else is also getting stronger, which means you're going to need some more attention and more oomph to your programs. This is exciting because now there's more fast, seamless playback in After Effects, which I'm very excited about. It says that they have created some new performance improvements that let you preview more of your comp than ever before. We're introducing a faster, more modern caching system that uses both your computer's RAM and high-performance attached hard disk to preview and playback larger and more complex projects faster than ever before. It makes motion design more interactive, responsive, and fun. And it says that you're no longer limited by the amount of RAM on your computer when you play back your work. That means that even older desktops and laptops can now play back entire compositions in After Effects for the first time without having to pause. Now, this is also really big because, as I was saying, it's going to be something that your system needs to be strong. But this is even applying to things where it's like maybe your system is a little bit older, but this update should hopefully be able to help. And then one other thing for After Effects would be HDR, which is, high definition. It's not high definition resolution. What does HDR stand for? Because I know what it is, because they do it in games all the time. And high dynamic range, that's what it is. And it really pulls the contrast between really, really, really dark colors and really, really light colors. So if you have black on your screen, especially with OLEDs now, it really helps to actually make it so it's completely black. If you're using an OLED, and I'm sorry if your eyes are glazing over here, but if you're using an OLED, the really cool thing about it is that if something is truly black, it will not illuminate the pixel that is there. Whereas in older TVs and stuff, like even if it was something entirely black, it would maybe look a little gray because it had to be illuminated from behind. But HDR technology means that you can see everything happening on the screen the way it was intended, with true-to-life colors, shadows, and details. So this is exciting to have in After Effects, and support for PQ and HLG video. And they can motion designers can now view their HDR comps accurately with improved video scopes that support HDR, whether you're working on a laptop or using professional hardware to send an HDR signal to a calibrated reference monitor. It's just as easy to work in HDR as it is to work in SDR with the latest version of After Effects Beta. And then there's some updates to Frame.io, like camera to cloud, now available for select Canon cameras. And that's actually not the only information that we're going to have about Canon today for all of you shooters out there. There are some other updates that are exciting, and we're going to hop into there. But this is all linked in the blog post that we have here. It's just really important that check it out and get everything for you. And then also, of course, Adobe is at the Sundance Film Festival, which is all very exciting. And I'm hopeful that we get some really cool movies and shots and different great content out of it. So if you guys are Franco says, hi, Ryan. Sundance is too far away from Switzerland, but maybe there is more snow than here. Yes, it is snowing a lot here, and it's very cold. But yeah, it's a fun week, and I'm excited to see what comes out of it. And I also just appreciate that Adobe is having a presence there, and they're going to give cool updates as we kind of move along. Moving on to our next story, though. This is a WhatsApp story. We have a few social media updates for this week. WhatsApp, it's not as popular in America as it is across the world, but it is like the #1 messaging service for everyone everywhere else in the world. People don't really tend to use iMessage like they do in America. And if you don't know, WhatsApp is also owned by Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And they recently came out and said that you can now link your WhatsApp account with Instagram and Facebook. This is kind of important because all of these kind of had existed in their own silos. This is coming from TechCrunch. Aisha Malik says Meta announced on Tuesday that users will be able to soon add their WhatsApp account to their account center, a hub where users can manage connected experiences across their Facebook, Instagram, and Meta Quest accounts. With this integration, users will be able to cross-post their WhatsApp status as stories on Instagram and Facebook, getting rid of the need to post multiple times. It will also allow users to log into multiple apps with the same account through the single sign-on feature, which is an authentication option that allows you to do things like use your Facebook account information to log into Instagram. As with anything else, this is linked in the raindrop for you. There's this mock-up here where it shows you how you're able to kind of cross-post it elsewhere. For the longest time, Instagram has let you cross-post stories to Facebook, but this is the first time that this status can kind of update across to WhatsApp. Over the last 5-10 years, we have seen a lot of this migration of social networks transforming from these things where you kind of do a blast and it goes out to millions of people, but also goes directly now closer to these small group chats or these microcosms of communities that exist online. Think, Telegram, think WhatsApp, think Discord, think GroupMe. All of these are kind of starting to exist, and people are developing new, even brand experiences, personal branding experiences, art, you name it, all through these social media apps as well. And this is another way that it's going to make it a little bit easier. So if you are going into that territory, especially with WhatsApp, and you're kind of using it as a beacon message to message different groups, you now no longer have to download your story, then re-upload it to Instagram, or download it and re-upload it to WhatsApp. I personally have not really used WhatsApp in extensive branding or design sense like this, but it is something that I feel like Gen Z is doing a lot more of, and I think that we're actually slowly creeping towards. There are lots of different messaging apps. WhatsApp, like I said, is the biggest one, but this is interesting to see them all kind of linking it together. And Meta has been in the news a lot. This is no different because we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Meta right now actually also introduced an incentive because of the TikTok situation. I don't want to talk too much about TikTok situation because I feel like everyone has heard it to death now. It got banned. They shut it off. It came back on. Now it's kind of in limbo. It might be banned again. It might not. We've been saying the same thing all year, over and over and over again. But the team at Meta is trying to lure TikTok creators with like $5,000 bonuses, content deals, free verification. This is also coming from TechCrunch, also Aisha. She's doing a great job over there. And it says that Meta is luring TikTok creators over to its platforms with the promise of cash bonuses, content deals, and support to grow their communities. The company announced on Tuesday that eligible TikTok creators will be able to earn up to $5,000 in bonuses over 3 months for posting reels on Facebook and Instagram. It has been this mad dash between people trying to figure out, where to go, what services to use, where they can bring their audiences. And we've talked a lot about the social web and the idea of being able to bring your audience with you. This is something that we're still not there yet. And a lot of people are freaking out because they built multi-million people followings on TikTok. And then, it was gone for only like 14 hours, but people suddenly were like, what am I going to do? And Oliver's wondering if Meta will give him $5,000 for his one reel a year. Also, thank you, Oliver, for saying hello over on YouTube. Great to have you. It is interesting to see kind of this happen because it's not actually even only Meta. Also this week, Bluesky and X, which are, kind of competitors, but also not... both introduced a video feed onto their services. And I mean, they're competitors with TikTok in a way, but they're not. They're definitely competitors with each other. But Bluesky and X both introduced a video feed, which it was interesting. Neither of them truly feel very TikTok clone. Like they don't have the... like the video replies or the sound-based focus. But there was a lot that's happening. It's very clearly in development. I know over on Bluesky, there is a call to develop a TikTok clone. There are some investors that are going in to say, like, okay, can you build another thing on the AT protocol that is more like TikTok? X, of course, is just trying to lean into the idea of video in its own sense. But this is something where it was interesting to see all the other accounts and social services react to TikTok suddenly being gone and seeing this huge, gigantic portion of people suddenly going elsewhere online. There were things like Red Note and Lemonade, which we're not going to talk extensively about. I don't really know them. And I think they're probably just a trend. They'll probably not last. But just as you're kind of working with your audience, you're working on the things that you're creating, just keep in mind that these social networks are also kind of fighting for your attention, and they're fighting for you to provide their work. Ryan Collier is saying, bring Vine back over in Behance. Peter's also saying, dang, Wade, you're fast with the links, which I definitely agree with, but something to check out. I mentioned to you guys that this was not going to be the last time that we talked about Canon, and this is for all you creators that maybe have multiple cameras that you want to set up that aren't all Canon devices. Canon recently made an announcement that they have support when you're kind of running production, that you can switch between different cameras. This was originally reported on The Verge is where I saw it, by Andrew Lazuski. And it says, the Live Switcher mobile app turns iPhone and iPads into a mobile wireless studio that can stream from 3 devices. They announced a new live streaming app that can wirelessly connect and switch between video feeds. It's currently limited to iPhones and iPads running at least iOS and iPad OS 16. Android isn't supported. An even stranger omission is that Live Switcher Mobile isn't compatible with any of Canon's digital cameras. That functionality will be added in the future, according to an FAQ. The app is available for download now and can be used for free, but with some limitations. Video quality maxes out at 720p. The output is watermarked, and the app's interface will occasionally be cluttered with ads, but those aren't presented to viewers. There are some paid things that you can do, but it's interesting to see that we are even more so getting into more of a creator economy and a creator production situation where you can have a production studio on your phone, on your iPad, and using that as a means to kind of run production and do things that are higher quality, that are now more accessible to more creators. I have not tried it out. I don't necessarily have things that I'm filming with outside of my phone at the moment, but I do enjoy my MagSafe stands when I am using it. And we talked a little bit about the Lark mics that I use, but I would be interested in people that are Canon loyalist, Canon users, that I wonder if you guys would use this, if this will be included into your workflow, or what you think. And it's interesting to see them kind of approach this iPhone-centric, I don't know, new world. Next up, let's hop into Rebrand, the part of the show where we are focusing on new brand updates and company reimaginings. And we got a lot to get through this week, so let's hop on in. This week in particular, I want to put this in big, large red text that views, news selection, and opinions on this show are solely Ryan Selvey's. That's me. You can find me at ryanselvey.com. And should not be taken as official Adobe endorsements or views. Everything is just me here. So as we talk about these new things, please, by all means, do not look into it any more than just me talking about it. It is not Adobe. It is just me. So keep that in mind. The first one that I want to talk about is the Microsoft rebrand. If you are in the Microsoft, well, let's leave this up for just right now. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, you know that there is kind of this impossible navigatable world of Microsoft products that are then, being rebranded as Microsoft Office or Microsoft 365. Now, then there was also the introduction of the AI thing called Microsoft Copilot 365. And if you look here, as reported on by Joe Foley for Creative Block, you can see that the Copilot logo on the left and the Microsoft Copilot 365, formerly known as Microsoft 365 Office app, is on the right. So it is kind of like they're trying to focus on the idea that they're adding Copilot into the suite and the service that is Microsoft 365 that would have, your Word, your PowerPoint, your Excel. But it gets really confusing when they're kind of just repurposing a existing logo that was for a different service and then having that kind of take over and be the other thing. I think that in and of itself, it is a very pretty logo with the gradients and how it shows. And, it's hard to represent what AI is. So there's always that challenge. When I think that it is ineffective is this choice of just kind of plopping essentially like a notification on top of it that says M365 and then is kind of rebranding something that already exists. It also covers up some of the really pretty situation that they have here. It just doesn't feel cohesive. It doesn't feel like it's there. Like I said, I think the original Signia that they introduced like a year or two ago is great, but this new one, not so hot. What do you guys think? I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a few polls this week. And so I'm going to say M365 logo, and I want you guys to vote yay or nay. And I'm not going to keep that up for any particular amount of time, but if you guys are over on YouTube, I would love to hear what you guys think about it as we hop into other things. Once again, before we hop into any of these next ones, I really want to focus. These are all my views, so especially if I say think critical, please, by all means, it's Ryan Selvey, not Adobe. Because, as you guys know, there was a system change in the U.S. government this week. And with that, it is normally customary for a bunch of things in the U.S. government to be rebranded, for things to be revisited and updated. And I have 3 things that are updated with the U.S. government today. The first one being the U.S. Department of Energy. You can see here that this was being reported on by Brand New, which is from the Under Consideration website, underconsideration.com. And you can see here that the old logo is a signia that feels like kind of like a patch, or something that feels very governmental. It's green, the dark green that almost is foresty, and it reads to me very much like a traditional government logo. Also, Okay, let's get through this story and then we'll go back to the one with the votes this side. And it's a sans serif font. It's heavy. It's condensed. You move that over to the new one that was just kind of announced. It is center justified, so it has a real focus on the word energy, and U.S. Department of is much smaller. It doesn't really have a crest or a logo. It is a it feels very similar to me to the Con Edison vibe. And I can pull up Con Edison, where it's like it feels. This is the energy provider in New York City. This feels very current, feels modern, and it feels very energy service related. The one thing that I did not notice until I was looking through comments is if you look here, it says energy, and there's 3 bars that exist as a that exist as an E. But when you invert it, you can kind of start to notice that there's a lightning bolt in the middle here, and it feels very similar to like the FedEx with maybe the arrow between the E and the X. Here we have the energy, where this E, which is kind of non-discernible as to why it's blue, yellow, and green. Maybe there's some explanation for it, but outside of the idea that there is this lightning bolt that needs to pop up. But the thing that kind of bothers me about it is the fact that this E in the beginning of energy is not the same E as the E in the middle, so it almost looks like EN space RGY. I like the colors. I think the spacing of the letters is nice, but it's interesting to see that this is a kind of use case of negative space. And I'm curious as to what you guys think. So that's all I have to say about that. So looking back on the poll of the M365 logo, we have 12 votes. Thank you guys for doing that in just 3 minutes. Also, thanks, Bruce. Bruce says, the poll says it all. And so for the M365 logo, we have 91% of you saying nay. We have 8% of you saying yay. So as we go on to our next one, I'm going to start a poll for the Department of Energy. And same deal, guys. Let us know if it is yay or nay for you and what you guys think about it. And I'll be sure to respond. If you guys are over on Behance, make sure you go hop over to YouTube and give yourself a vote. Wade is saying the lack of contrast in the yellow and green really lets you lose the bolt. And Bruce is saying the colors are not vibing with me. Penny also did not see the bolt. Peter is interested that the emblem has been dropped. Oliver, however, did see the emblem right away, the spark. Mel is liking the negative space bolt. Yeah, Apurva says the new Y. What is the new Y? It's the same Y, you know? Penny Doodles is saying ENZRGY, which, oh yeah, I could kind of see a Z for it as well. You guys are a little bit more split on this one. I've only had it up here for a few minutes, and there's only 6 votes, so I'm going to let you guys talk about that a little bit more, but we're going to hop into another department, and this is the department, the DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Administration. This one I thought was interesting. I wanted to call out because this one, they definitely kept the insignia, but they updated it and they changed it. I personally like this update a lot. I think the eagle is way more discernible in here. They changed the colors in the previous version. It is this circle, and it has a cyan, a brown, and green. And it's kind of flying and breaking the circle only on one side, and it's like kind of a bird, but you're not entirely sure why. And the words that are surrounding the circle are hard to read. They, in the new one, more or less kept the same type structure for DEA in big words, but they really changed the insignia. They brought it down to only 2 colors, which was a dark blue and a light blue cyan that is then kind of working alongside the white of the actual outline. The new logo for the eagle looks really good. And I think that the legibility of U.S. Department of Justice Drug Enforcement Administration as it's going around the circle is much better. I don't know about this kind of white space over here on the side of the wing, but I think it does feel well weighted, especially since there's so much white in the DEA actual words. So maybe there's a balance there. I also don't think that maybe it would feel as strong with the blue here. Well, actually, let's even see. We're in Photoshop, right? Like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a stroke. And I'm going to grab the color here. We're going to increase the weight of the stroke. We're going to put it on top. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this up and bring down the transparency so we can kind of see through it. And then we'll just do like a small, like select, modify, expand. We'll say by like 5 pixels. Nope. We'll say select, modify, expand by like, we'll say 2 pixels. And then I'm going to come back into here and we're going to add some sort of mask here. To which then I can also get rid of it everywhere else, but just for a kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of grounds it. I think that it doesn't need that all that white space to the left, personally. But I can also see how it kind of feels like maybe it's a little bit more cohesive and coming from the same unit. But I'm going to go ahead and end the poll for the Department of Energy. And over on YouTube, the Department of Energy, we got 11 votes here, and 54% said nay, 45% said yay. So that one was way more divisive between you guys. It was about half and half more or so. And just for a reminder, that was for this one. You guys said that that was a little bit, barely majority said nay, but some of you really liked it. And so let's hop on into our DEA. We're going to start a poll, and I'm going to say DEA, yay or nay, and everything rhymes. And we'll get that one started up as we kind of start the next. But Griffin says, I don't absolutely love the new Department of Energy logo, but I think the old logo was much worse. Emblems with a bunch of stuff always look bad. So yeah, I'd also be interested with this one now, Griffin, if also, hi Griffin, good to see you, if this emblem does it for you, or if it's still kind of an issue for you as well. And as that one goes, we're gonna hop into one more government one, and then I promise we won't talk about the government anymore. And this is the Whitehouse logo change, and I found this from Josh Gerben over on Bluesky. It says the White House got a new logo at noon today. This was obviously during the inauguration. With every administration, a new logo is created and used on everything from official letterhead to the backdrop in the briefing room. The logo for Trump's second term looks significantly jazzed up. So this is over the last 3 administrations, including this one being one. Trump from 2017 to 2021 had this simplified one. Biden came in, really took attention to the idea of negative space. It almost feels like these kind of windows are floating, but they're still very iconographic, very like not as detailed, to which then now we have this dark mode Trump that is really focused on the architectural structure of the White House itself. I personally think it looks very nice. I think it gets a little complicated maybe down towards the lantern that they have hanging, which is interesting to see that they still focus on that lantern in every single logo that they have up to this point, which when I imagine the White House, I don't even really think about that lantern. I kind of just think about this. The other thing that I think is strong is the American flag focus here. In his previous administration's logo, it was focused that it was on the stripes, but Biden kind of simplified it and turned it in just kind of like a flag, whereas this one feels very focused on the American flag here, while still having a good structure of having the weight down here and up here. I think down here especially, you'll see that because this is like a screenshot, you know, if you zoom out, it kind of just gets a little too muddy, so maybe there isn't as good. And something is to be said about wanting to be able to scale something really far down. But at the same time, I don't feel like there's many times when the White House needs its logo used at such a small scale. Like, it's going to be very big, and they're going to want you to know that it's the White House. And I just I really should keep mentioning it. None of these are endorsements of any administrations or anything or views, especially from Adobe. I'm strictly talking about the logo itself, and I think that this logo is a very pretty logo. Taking anything out aside from it, just focusing on the logo I think this is strong, which is cool. Bruce is saying, what is it used on for, Ryan? Letterhead? Yes, on the website, on the letterhead. And Bruce is saying because all that detail might get lost as well. Let's real quickly look back at the DEA one because the poll is probably done here. We got 13 votes here, and 92% said yay and 7% said nay, which, yeah, I feel like that's popular vote here, that this is a nice new updated logo. Yeah, but very last one here we have for the White House logo. Just going to read. We're not going to do a poll for this one just because I want to be able to keep some time here. There's one more rebrand that I want to do. But it says Penny's not too impressed with number 3. Hard to see. Oliver doesn't like the sound of dark mode. And Mel is saying 1 was best, 2 good, but 3 seems bad for letterhead. Penny Doodle says, I'd like to see a White House logo that looks more like White Castle. LOL. And then Kev is saying, so you're saying I can like the Brewers logo, but not like the Brewers? I think so, yeah. I mean, you can always focus on logo itself and go from there. And Griffin's still saying that they cleaned up the emblem in the DEA logo, so it looks good. I'm thinking the ones that are tiny with just way too much stuff going on see many state emblems, such as New Hampshire. Yes. And I think that, yeah, being able to have an emblem is successful as long as you can read it from a distance. And the last one was also brought up by Brand New, and this is an update to Transamerica. This one, I think, definitely updates it. It makes it feel more modern. Transamerica. I don't think you necessarily need to do everything in sans serif, but we've talked about that before. The one thing that I'm not wild about is that they changed the view of the Transamerica building. If you look at the Transamerica building in San Francisco, which this is based off of, and is a pretty iconic building, I think that the kind of crosses along it are iconic in their own right, that it feels very much like a striped building. Like, granted, that's most buildings, but when you look at the actual one itself, I think that you really see the stripes. I think it's a shame they got rid of that. This is cleaner and is more shape-centric. It's probably better for when you scale it really tiny. But for me, I personally liked the stripes. And I don't think it necessarily needs an update, but I also can see why it would. It's just interesting. But yeah, that's an update to Transamerica. I can see who it was actually done by. Brand New normally always does a really good update as to like who made it, what teams were behind it. All of this is always linked in the raindrop, as you guys know. But this is coming from. Did they not say? Oh, I guess it's just coming from within. So they didn't necessarily go out. And you can visit it on Transamerica.com, where they will have an update for their brand, talking about who they did it for, why the typography got updated, and yada, yada, yada. So you can go ahead and check that out. And then one last thing that we have that I think is a really good brand read comes from Print Magazine, and it is The Power of Red. It says the color of power, passion, and populism. It says try naming 10 blue or yellow brands off the top of your head. It's not as easy as it is with red. That comes from Matt Van Leeuwen. This is about a 5-minute read from Amelia Nash, and is obviously talking about red in governments as well, because obviously we see a lot of red this week. but it's also talking about how red's in stop signs, and that's Adobe, Netflix, Target, Uniqlo, Marvel, YouTube, Pinterest. All of these are all very red focused. Red demands attention. Red is constantly visible throughout history in a lot of different ways. It has hunger, it has desire, and it's just really important to know why these colors are successful, what they look like, and how they impact your brand as you're rebranding things. This is a really fun, interesting read. It's always nice to kind of do a deep dive into colors and why they make us feel the way we do, even if it's subconscious. Wade's giving only 3. He's saying blue sky, jet blue, and bluey, but they're asking you real quick to name 10, and you only gave me 3. Oliver said that's a very red. Yes. It also reminded me a lot of Signalis. And this is a video game that is like pixelated, but they really focus on the red, especially when you are doing any sort of like save setting. It just the entire screen turns red, and it's really powerful. And like especially if I'm playing into the dark, it like illuminates my face. But it's an interesting read. And it's just red, the color of power, passion, and populism. We've got about 10 minutes left. There's still plenty for us to get through. So let's go ahead and hop into the font of the week. We're going to do something a little different this week with Font of the Week. We like to focus on a different typeface from Adobe Fonts each week that you can get with your subscription for free. And I picked out 3 that I really liked, and I thought you guys could vote on which one we think should be the Font of the Week. The very first one that we have is Argent Pixel, and this comes from Connery Fagan, self-developer. And it is a pixelated font, and it's a lo-fi rendition of a well-loved typeface. It has a really pretty like 90s vibe to it, but still feels like it's really well done. It says it's a playful bitmap version of the original dashing Argent typeface with a pronounced X height. This unexpectedly readable serif recreates the original's font distinctive look and a style evocative of early Macintosh typography. It's readily useful with its angled serifs and swashy italics for all kinds of typographic tasks needing a retro, low-resolution aesthetic, such as identities and brands, advertising, magazines and journals, book covers, packaging, labels, and more. I think it's very pretty. It reminds me of a bunch of old video games, but also back when things were trying to look elegant but still had to kind of wrestle with the limitations of the screen and technology that we're working on, because as you guys know, like so often technology dictates what is readily accessible in design. So we can write out file new, looks really pretty, all cap. Oh, gosh, I think it's so cool. It looks so cool. I love it. And it's so nice that it, has all of these ligatures, that has like glyphs for you to use, because I'm always like popping these up. So it's very flexible, can pretty much take anything that you throw at it. It's got, your upside down question marks, and it's got copyright symbols. Very cool, very nice, and just a cool way to kind of add some retro to your work. So that's Argent Pixel. That's number 1. Next up, we have Giramisu, or Giramisu. I'm not honestly fully aware how you pronounce it, but this was created by Roland Horman from Phospho, and this is hard to read, but I really liked it in this neon setting. It feels like cursive, but it also feels like its own. It's a variable font, which means you can adjust the slant to your desire if you want to go left or right, or just have it straight up and down. You can also adjust the width of it, which is cool, so you can have all the letters really close to each other, or they can extend and all be there. When you're previewing it for whatever reason on the website, in my browser, the H gets messed up, but by and large you can kind of see how it all gets adjusted. For the about, it says that it's created by a graphic design studio that specializes in type design. In the early 90s, long before he had decided to study graphic design, Roland began to dabble in type design and created a handful of experimental pixel fonts on the Commodore 64. It wasn't until 2007, though, that he made his first serious attempt at type design, and in the following year, he published his first typeface. It runs on his passion project Statschrift, which is an association for the collection, preservation, and documentation of historic facade signs. And you can see that if we take Giramisu here, and we're going to write file new because that's always our test. I'm going to go through, highlight it, and oh, I thought I merged it, but maybe not. No? All right. Well, then you're just going to have to take my word for it. I thought I merged it, but I did not. I didn't hit the link to add. So as that updates, we're going to go and hop into our third one real quick. So I want to make sure we have time to vote on it. And this is another weird one. This one feels pixelated. It feels almost like I took the two of these, Argent Pixel and Giramisu, and had Velzyland pop up as well, because it's kind of this broken up. This isn't just a stylization that they have of the actual like cover art for it. This is how the type actually works, and it comes from CJ Type. It was created by CJ Dunn. And this is something that I feel like I see a lot in poster design, but it's nice to see that it's a typeface that's actually just creating it. It says it is created by CJ Dunn, and it's an expressive wavy display typeface which grew out of lettering CJ designed for Vast, a surf lifestyle clothing company. Velzy letterform sloped down at a steep angle reminiscent of the waves at its namesake surf spot on the north shore of Oahu. I've never been to Hawaii before, so I messed that up. But not far from CJ's birthplace in Kahuku. And I think it's just really cool. It is. I was playing around with this one earlier, so I definitely have this on my system. But if we go and we say, what? Did I undo it? Velzy. There it is. I was like, I know I played around with it earlier. This one is just so cool. And part of me was tempted to make this one the font of the week, but I wanted to see what you guys want. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put up file new in all of these. And then you guys can tell me which one you think should be the font of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on over to YouTube as it works. I'm going to create a new poll, and I'm going to say font of the week. And number 1 is Argent Pixel. Number 2 is Giramisu. And the third one is Velzyland. And I'm going to start that poll, and I'm going to let that go. As you guys see, and as we're kind of talking through that, I will show all three. And I'm also going to look at chat to see how you guys are feeling here. Peter's saying that Argent Pixel, which is the pixelated version of the old typeface, reminds them of the old days. Bruce is talking about Giramisu, I'm believing, and saying variables are cool. Oliver is saying that he assumes that there's a soft J sound like giraffe for Giramisu. Oliver says that there's a glitch font for the Velzyland. And Oliver's saying, oh, it's supposed to be wavy. I can see it now. I also see it as wavy, but I also see it as glitch, which is what I kind of was here for. And as it's coming in right now, guys, we've already got 14 votes. And Argent Pixel is currently in the lead with 57%. Giramisu is 29%. And Velzyland is 14%. Which, I mean, that's so close. So you know what? So much so that even as we kind of hop into this last segment real quick of resources, I am going to keep the poll open so that you guys can continue to battle out until the end of the show. But let's quickly hop on into resources. So resources, I love to normally kind of just highlight a few things that are helpful for creators. This one, as much as any other week, is kind of fluid in what is a resource, what it is. I thought there was a really nice write-up on It's Nice that you guys should read through that is all about motion design and brands. And it says how designers and brands are morphing the next era of motion design. This is from James Britton with really, really pretty cool animations by Seo Hyojung. And the byline of it, because we're on limited time, says, a creeping shift has redefined how brands maintain identity over recent years, chasing audiences as they jump between endless windows. In a world constantly in motion, James Britton explores the rising impact such demand is having on creatives behind the scenes. And it's just a really great way of approaching motion and how that impacts brands, how that's a whole nother lift, how you can tell different stories with different objects and different shapes, and how it's kind of revolutionizing how we're using digital formats. One of the quotes in it is, brands now have to exist in a permanent state of motion, by James Britton, which I think is a really good quote. And it's a pretty good quick read. You can read it in like probably 5 minutes, I'm guessing. But you guys should check it out. And that is on It's Nice That. Another good read up that I have that I think is just resourceful for everyone. This is by no means a prescriptive thing, but it's talking about Meta's new content policies and how it's going to affect artists, what is available, what's not available, what could be kind of like still, flagged or not flagged. And this is on Hyperallergic. And this is from Emma Shapiro. And then last but not least for our resources, this is one that I just kind of started watching while we were kind of like getting ready for the show today. And this is from Every Firm of Painting, which is an amazing YouTube channel that talks all about cinematography and editing, and just you can learn a lot through it from the films that you really enjoy. And it has questions that you should ask when you're kind of approaching about where you put a camera in a scene and you film a scene. It's like, what is the scene about? What is the scene trying to tell? If there was one other one that I'm like trying to remember off the top of my head here. It was, what was it? It was, what is the scene about? How do we block the actors, and what do you want to say? It's only 7 minutes long. It's a fun little essay if you want to watch during a break. Give yourself a breather and learn more. And then while you're at it, just check out the rest of the website or the channel. Every Frame is a Painting, just because it is such a great thing. So with that, we didn't get to Spotlight. I guess we don't even have to do the transition for it. I just want to show this at all because I'm very excited about Severance. But if you look at Kittle Design, they have this fun little Severance breakdown of the colors and talks about how the design and color design of Severance is focused and kind of like what they're looking out, and how they use red, for intensity. There's not a lot of red in the show until they need something. They are really good at framing the shots and making it feel very isolating. And I thought it was just a really cool spotlight. I guess that could be on a rebrand as well. But there will be more to talk about next week. The show will be on in the same place at the same time. Thank you to everyone that joined in. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. You guys said that the font of the week is going to be Argent Pixel, and that won at a 50%. Giramisu got 37%, and Velzyland got 12%. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure you stick around. We've got office hours up next. My name is Ryan Selvey. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out. Follow me on Bluesky at ryanselvey.com. Follow me on Instagram as Ryan Selvey. And make sure you guys stick around because we've got plenty more for you. And there's a lot planned for you over ahead in office hours. So thanks again for watching. And I'll see you all next week, same time, same place on File New. Peace.